Greetings, my beautiful listeners. I'm so excited to introduce today's guest for There's Always Hope podcast, Miss Jocelyn Moore. Miss Moore was born in Washington, D.C., and is a lifetime resident of Prince George's County, Maryland. During her early years, she developed an interest in theater and was greatly influenced by her mother, who wrote and directed church plays for youth and adults. Miss Johnson's high school drama teacher was also an influence on her interest in the theater. After high school, Miss Johnson attended Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland, and graduated with a BA degree in theater arts. She's also a life member of Morgan State Alumni Association. Ms. Jocelyn became very active in her church by writing and directing plays, planning events, and serving as director of drama ministry. She continues to serve as the superintendent of Sunday school and also head of the youth ministry and family ministry. In June 2010, Ms. Jocelyn became the owner of her production company, JM Entertainment. She also writes inspirational books, plays, and monologues, which incorporate different life elements ranging from drama, conflict, tragedy, to humor and satire. One of the unique perspectives Ms. Jocelyn brings as a director is that she personalized her approach and influential writing about issues relevant to today's youth and their development. JM Entertainment provides services in the Washington metropolitan area and other surrounding areas. In 2012, Ms. Johnson wrote her first two stage plays titled Men of the Bible and Women of the Bible. The plays are informative and easy to read. They were written so that people can gain a better understanding of and thus learn from the lives of some of the most famous and influential people in the Bible. Women of the Bible was performed at several churches in the Washington metropolitan area. Her most recent books are Secrets in the Sanctuary and Secrets in the Sanctuary 2, Secrets Exposed. In May of 2014, Ms. Jocelyn was asked to serve on the board of directors for the Southern Maryland Youth Theater Group in Forest Heights, Maryland. Welcome, Ms. Jocelyn Moore, to There Is Always Hope podcast. Thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Ms. Moore, your time is valuable, so let's get started with our talk today. Ms. Moore, what is the most difficult part in writing plays to help people find the God of hope?
I don't really find it difficult to write plays, God of Hope. For example, my stage play, Conversations in Faith, right here, is fictional with historical facts, interviewing men and women of the Bible. For example, I have like Ruth and Naomi. Now, Ruth found God through the help of her mother-in-law, Naomi. Ruth was a Moabite, which means that she worshiped false gods. Naomi worshiped a true God. All right. So through their love of each other, Ruth learned to love God through Naomi's teaching. And they had a strong bond, seemed like a mother-in-law, daughter-in-law. Yes, like a mother-in-law, daughter-in-law. And to the fact that Ruth never wanted to leave her mother-in-law. Okay. As a matter of fact, she ended up marrying Naomi's cousin, Boaz. And that's a strong bond, isn't it? Right? She always listened to her. So I believe today we have relationships like that. We might never hear of it. We only hear the negative of mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws. But there's a strong bond. There's a strong bond, So, as I said before, through their love for each other, it was easy for Ruth to learn to love Naomi's God. So Naomi's God is her God. Okay. And also, I have another book to tell you. Rainbows and Valleys, Skits for youth, and young adults. Okay. The issues revolve around kids today. All right. They're struggling. Now, you have consequences for what you do. Consequences. So skits and monologues, and my book deals with death, drugs, emotional abuse. Now, after each skit and monologue, you have questions, and some of the questions you have to refer back to the Bible. And it's very interesting. As a matter of fact, I've used this in my Sunday school. Instead of the kids just sitting there listening to me talk, it was really fun for them. And we really had meaningful discussions. And I believe through this, a God of hope, they've learned something. Okay. Now, one more thing. I have Secrets in the Sanctuary. Secrets in the Sanctuary. This is more like part one. Secrets in the Sanctuary. Secrets exposed. As a matter of fact, I had asked several pastors, should I write about this? They said, why not? Ain't nothing new. So the purpose of this book is a person's reading this, they might find themselves in this book. It says, oh my goodness, I'm living this life. So you just never know what people are reading, how you can change their life. Change their life. Last, okay. These were my first two books I wrote. Don't ask me why I did two books the first time. Both drove me crazy. But Men of the Bible and Women of the Bible. I combined both of these two books into Conversations in Faith. Now, just to let you know, Conversations in Faith have other characters like Cain, Adam, Eve, Jesus' mother, Delilah, Queen Jezebel. Oh my goodness. Jonah, Judas, all sorts of people. Moses, Noah. So the list goes on. All right. So, okay. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. So, what changes do you notice in the mindset and actions of those you meet through JM Entertainment?
Well, as I said before, people find it easy to read. Like Conversations in Faith. You know how the Bible, how they read and how I read in the Bible. I broke it down into simple English. For example, like Delilah would say something like, she was a prostitute. Yes. Did it for the money, honey. Why not? I'm proud and beautiful. So to break it down, for let's say Judas Iscariot, we know who he was. He betrayed Jesus. Right. The interviewer might say, oh, so you were the financial expert. Yeah, I held the money bag, didn't I? We collect money, but we gave it to the poor, you know. So sort of humorous, excuse me. It's sort of funny in a way. I had the characters. And when I was doing my research on like Conversations of Faith, what I did was I was trying to see how they would react to the questions. That's what I did. I tried to see how they would react to the questions. So that's how all this came about.
And that will bring a lasting impression doing things that way.
Right.
So, Ms. Moore, what encounters with God that strengthened your faith and brought you closer to Him?
Okay, and this one is very personal to me. My mother passed, I believe, in 74. My father passed in 86, like 12 years apart. Anyway, 1986, sitting in church, my father was like a couple seats behind me. And the pastor at the time said he didn't want to testify. I said that. I never testified. Something made me stand up. I don't know. I never testified before. Something made me stand up to say, my father is very good to us. We love him very much. I was saying all these things about my father. And it's amazing because after church, we were driving home. I said, Daddy, I just had to say that. He said, that's okay. We talked about it. And then a week later, he went to the doctors. The doctor said he had walking pneumonia. Walking pneumonia. And he came home and he was just smiling. And that weekend, woke up next weekend, he couldn't hardly get out of bed himself. Like he aged. He was 76 when he passed, but he looked much, much older. Right. He couldn't walk to the bathroom by himself. He couldn't eat. So, and my father, my father said this also. He said, you're good to us. I have several brothers and sisters. He said, all of y'all are good to us. And it was good for him to say that. It's good to hear that. So I called the doctor. I called the hospital. I said, my father needs to go to the hospital, call the emergency. Oh, he'd be fine. I said, no, so I have cursed in the way, Bridget. I don't know. I was I was upset because just to see him, he was always on the go, all this energy. Then that weekend, he just went down. So finally they came, they got him, took him to the hospital. And about 2 weeks later, he died there. He never came out. He never came out. My brother came to the house to tell me I was asleep. He came upstairs to tell me, and I felt a presence there. And over my eyes, my brother was there, and he just looked at me. You know that look you can get. And I knew. I said, well, he's not suffering anymore. And what's sad, what makes me sad sometimes is he was alone in the hospital. So nothing I can do about it. And then this is very emotional. And when I did see him in the hospital before he passed, I couldn't go in and stay because he had all these tubes tied up. My brother went in to see him a lot, but I would sit out in the waiting room with my pillow. And for the longest time, I couldn't go to the hospital to visit anyone. And when I went back to visit a relative, it's that smell, that still smell. It just brought back memories. So, so it's been since '86. I'm good. But then you have your good days, you have bad days. Sometimes I be laughing and joking, and next I'm sad. But it's not always like that. It's not always like that. So I love my family, my brothers and sisters. We are so close. And I'm glad we had the parents that we did.
So, Ms. Moore, what specific challenge have you overcome as you work in the role as a youth ministry leader?
We're building a strong and meaningful relationship, basically with the parents. That's it. You have to take that initiative. You can't have the kids work with the kids and not speak with the parents. You have to. You have to build that communication with them. No, to have it strong. And things might not always go the way you want it, but at least you keeping that communication open.
So you get a lot of support from the parents also?
A lot of support. I would text them. I would, I would call them. Sometimes I would say, I know you're sick of me. I know you're sick of me. But they really appreciate it. They really appreciate that. And I noticed the change in the kids. They become more positive. More positive. I say, okay. Let's say I'm using the name. Say, okay, Sam. This time, okay, Miss Jocelyn. Okay, Miss Jocelyn. Sometimes somebody say, you might not like it, but you're going to do it anyway.
Oh, no.
Yes. But then afterwards, they said, oh, that wasn't bad. You have to encourage the kids. You can. That's the way I was brought up. You have to encourage them.
So true, so true. So, Ms. Moore, how did it change your perspective on future obstacles?
That, I must say that you have to be a positive role model for the kids, for them to listen to you. Kids are smart. We have, at the church, we have like Vacation Bible School, Sunday school, worship service. As a matter of fact, on fourth Sundays, the youth participate in worship service. They lead the service.
Oh, wonderful.
They lead the service. And sometimes or they take up offering. We used them to do that. They take up offering. And I remember when I was training the kids to do the offering, I say, okay, you know how to do it now. Miss Jocelyn, I know what I'm doing. You don't have to tell me. Because I started with two of the kids doing offerings together. Okay. Just to make sure, so they'll feel comfortable. Then with one child doing the offering, and they really like that. I remember when the young lady, when she was 8 years old, And I had her sisters, two of them together. What I did, like be liturgists, like worship leader. I had them doing it together, like co-liturgists, to get them comfortable doing it. And then I had them doing it by themselves. I remember the first young lady who did it by herself, she must have been about 8 years old. She did the whole service. She said, Miss Johnson, this is a lot. I said, baby, but you did good. You did good. She started when she was 8 years old. Now she's like 13 years old. And people say, oh, like, she's a pro. She gets up there, she just do it. And she helps with Sunday school also. I said Sunday school is small, and I made her like elementary teacher. But I help her along the way so she knows exactly what she's doing. And she really likes that. Kids like to tell the younger kids what to do anyway.
Yes.
But she's very good at what she does. And I'm really proud of all the kids in Sunday school.
It's wonderful. And that's what the Bible said, to train up a child and where they should go.
That's true. I must say this. Another young boy I met, he was like 8 years old. He talked all the time. Talk, 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 talk. When he became older, he didn't talk as much. But had him in Sunday school. And I remember the teacher he had one day, he was the only child in the school. I mean, in their class. And he started coming to Sunday school. And the teacher said, Jocelyn, he's not coming anymore. I said, let me call the parent. I called, because I'm the Sunday school superintendent. So I called the parent, and the parent said, well, he says there's no other kids in his class. I said, but we are trying. Have him to come back. And he's been coming back, and he's been helping out. And he's 18 now. And he's in college. He goes to community college. And before he left, he was a Sunday school teacher.
Oh my goodness. Look at that.
He had the elementary class. And I noticed the growth in him. I remember one day I was in his class. He called one of the students out the class. He said, let's say, Julie, I'm just making my Julie, I have to speak to you outside. I don't know exactly what he said, but it was kind of cute. I'd like to speak with you for a few moments. So then she went inside, and everything was okay. But I noticed the growth in him. For a boy at that time, he didn't want to go to Sunday school. And his mother said, he's coming back. Because you have some parents who would say, oh, it's his or her decision. Where's that come from? You're real young. You are real young. So she made him come in. And he had all A's before he graduated, all A's. So he's really doing good. I'm so proud of him. I'm proud of all the kids. All the kids. Church, you need church. And the parents behind to keep you going.
So needed nowadays, that's for sure.
Oh my goodness. Yes, you do.
So, Ms. Moore, how do you encourage the younger generation to grow in their faith?
Well, basically, I sort of answer in a way by participating in all, activities. And by that, also, when we have like the Sunday school and the Get Bible School, the kids do not just sit there, right? You get them engaged. We have games and different things like that, for the kids. And it still makes them think. It makes them think. Because if you just sit there pounding, okay, God, this, blah, 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 kids just sit there like this. You really have to make it interesting to them, engage them, listen to what they have to say. That's very important. The kids at church will say, Miss Johnson, I'd like to say something. Go ahead. What you have to say, right? You have to listen to them. They are the future for tomorrow. So basically, that's back to answer the question before. I think they're combined together, and they are growing in faith. They have been growing in faith through all the years I've been with the kids. It's just like I think, let me see. The first church I was at, I was assistant superintendent. At the second church, the Sunday school superintendent, excuse me. And now I just love the different churches we go to, meet the different kids. you know. We would like to have more kids, and that will come. That will come. Hopefully, with the help of the parents to encourage them to come to Sunday school because you need it. Because you need it. You need it. Hope that answers your question. Because what's going on today? Oh my goodness. Oh my
What
goodness.
they see on the TV is so different from when us growing up.
Oh my, it's a big difference. And I'm like, half the stuff I see on things on TV, I don't care for. You know, I remember back in the day, I don't know if this is off the subject, but I remember back in the day, TV, like the comedy shows back then, they didn't have to cuss. They have to do it to get a laugh. Now, today, on these comedy shows, you have to use sex or curse to get a laugh. What's going on? I just turn the channel. I look, now, I, t- I look at Andy Griffith show back. I love. I know the kids probably never heard of George Burns show or Grace and Allen, George Bush, different shows. I have to look at those shows back there because really shows today are not funny. And a lot of kids today, I know the parents are working hard. You have a parent by herself, the kids, and sometimes the kids hold by themselves looking at TV. It's hard. It's very hard.
So, Miss Moore, what new beginnings or changes do you hope to see in JM Entertainment?
Well, I'd like to write more plays. I like to write more plays and do more theater, more performances. I love it's hard work. Let me tell you, it's hard work, but I love doing that. I love doing that. And maybe bring some of the kids into JM Entertainment. It could be a learning experience for them. Well, as a matter of fact, at church, we do plays at church, but it's not under JM Entertainment. Well, I say JM Entertainment LLC. Let me say that. Uh, but that's what I would like to do.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's awesome. So, would you write a play just with the kids in mind, or they just be actresses and actors in a play?
That's very interesting. As a matter of fact, in my book, Rainbows and Valleys, it's geared towards kids. So if they're prejudiced, Rainbows and Valleys is in there. Like I stated before, you talk about sex. And I mean, I don't get graphic, nothing like that in the book, Rainbows and Valleys. But like I stated before, and from the questions, you have to refer back to Bible, and the Bible talks about love, about sex, marriage. So sex, is supposed to be with your spouse. It talks about that, different things about, like I said, dating, emotional abuse in a relationship with a guy, and you don't know that you being abused. You think it's cute. Oh, he doesn't want to be talking to this person and that person. So that's good to bring in Jamie at the table for them to be a part of that also with that book.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, Miss Moore, if our listeners would like to know more about you and JM Entertainment, how can they contact you? Please share your information.
They go to my website, www.jmentertainment.info. Info, INFO.
Thank you so much for being my guest today. I appreciate you so much, and I hope to have you again on There Is Always Hope podcast. I pray continued blessings and prosperity with the assignment given to you by our Lord and Savior.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
My beautiful listeners, I'm challenging everyone who's listening to persevere for hope. And how do you persevere for hope? By meditating, communicating, and demonstrating God's word in your life. As you demonstrate God's word, you find yourself exchanging helplessness for hope. You find yourself exchanging doubt and fear for peace and joy. I want to shout out to the best podcast producer on the planet, Jay Wilson. If you need his expertise, his contact is podcastmechanic@gmail.com. That's podcastmechanic@gmail.com. My beautiful listeners, if you had enjoyed and received an encouraging word from Miss Jocelyn Moore from this episode of There's Always Hope podcast, please spread the word. Also, please give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple products. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at There Is Always Hope Podcast, and on TikTok and YouTube at There Is Always Pod. My website is BridgetteAlfredLLC.com. That's BridgetteAlfredLLC.com, where you can find my published inspirational books. If you like prayer, my email address is evangelistalfred@outlook.com. I will definitely respond to you. Remember that I am your biggest cheerleader, and I pray blessings upon blessings over you. Until we meet again on There Is Always Hope podcast, grace and peace. I pray that you have an awesome weekend. Till next time.